Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3Wide TV tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. It is the Simbox 175 here tonight at the Darlington Raceway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me alongside is Andre Grambush. Andre, the track that's too tough to tame, Darlington Raceway, holding round number 8 here tonight. Going to be a great race. Love coming to this racetrack and all that it has to offer for us.
Absolutely. This track is one that you always know is going to put on a show. It's just so unique, so different from what we normally see. And I think when it comes to the driver mindset going into tonight, we had some drivers looking forward to it, some drivers dreading it. But I've been having a lot of fun watching these guys in practice, and I think this race is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the practice session just wrapped up a moment ago. It was Philip Scott, Tristan Maher, 1-2 atop the board. Tristan is on an absolute tear. Of course, if you were not here with us last week, it was a fantastic race, but Tristan Maher getting the W. 3 out of the last 4 races have gone to Tristan Maher. He is definitely on a tear. There's Martin Plute back in the lineup here tonight. He was not at our last race. Good to see the number 8 machine back in tonight's starting lineup as he works his way out onto the racetrack. And this one's a unique one, Andre. Let's see if we can go on board here with Martin Plute.
Now right here, he's coming into 3 and 4, and he's going to brake really late. He's just going to brake a little bit to set it in the corner. He's going to play with the throttle as he goes throughout it, and then finally, once that car settles down, he's going to get on the gas as early as he can. Now coming into turns 1 and 2. Listen to this motor, Peter. If he lifts at all, it's going to be very brief. On fresh tires, it is actually fully possible to just flat foot turns 1 and 2, which is something that really surprised me when I turned some practice laps here. When you do that, you really got to be careful of the car slipping on corner exit, though, because that outside wall does sneak up on you. But that's basically a lap around Darlington. Flat foot 1 and 2, try to carry as much momentum as you can, and in 3 and 4, late braking, try to get on as soon as you can, and just, it's a track about gambling. You know, it's not so much how good you are, it's more what are you willing to risk for an extra 10th or 2.
Yeah, what are you willing to risk for another 10th or 2? Martin Plute, though, currently has risked the most. He's currently fastest of all drivers currently, although Philip Scott just went to the top of the board as the leaderboard up at the top of the screen continuing to refresh. Tristan Maher there jumping up into second. So currently the fastest driver in practice is fastest in qualifying. Doug Neal, good lap time for him. And just now slotting up into the 4th position is the driver of the number 69. That is Dominic Tesoro. Had a really good outing last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. That, of course, Dominic Tesoro finished on the podium last week. That's something that we were all excited to see here on 3Wide TV. We'll see what he can do on lap number 2. See if he can pick up a little bit of time in his for 69. Not quite able to do so. Here's a new driver here joining here tonight. That is the number 59 of Blaine Sparling. I believe on my notes, yeah, you can see it right there on the back end of the number 59, one of the Tesoro Motorsports machines. So joining in with Dominic as well as the other Tesoro, who is looking at the lineup. Currently, Julian not set a qualifying lap time. We are unsure on whether or not Julian will be receiving a penalty at the start of the race. We've heard there was some mid-race communications that are kind of adding to some drama. Some drivers not seeing quite eye to eye here in the National Sim Racing Association. And from communications I heard, Andre, one driver wasn't going to give the other driver any room because he was a lap down, but one driver was faster than the other driver. And from what I heard, the driver that was on the lead lap felt like he was in the right to drive the other driver hard and then got wrecked. And there was things said, and my oh my drama here on 3Wide TV.
Racers not seeing eye to eye? Say it isn't so, Peter. That doesn't sound like racers to me.
Well, yeah, we're hearing that Tesoro was given a penalty. I believe he tried to appeal it. Not sure if what came of that appeal, but there was definite audio said but amongst the driver that he was involved in last week, who said, "I'm not going to race him cleanly, or I'm not going to race him." I guess easily, because he's a lap down, and one driver got involved in an accident. Sometimes, Andre, cooler heads prevail out there on the racetrack. It's better to not get your car dinged up, in my opinion, than race a lapper sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We talked about how this racetrack, to get a good lap time, you kind of got to weigh what you value and what you don't, how much risk you want to take. And I think whenever you're racing with another driver, especially one that's a lap down, you got to think, is it worth it to battle this guy? If he's got fresher tires, or if the lapped car is genuinely faster than you might just be wasting not only his time, but yours if you battle him. Sometimes it's better just to let him go, give up a tenth right there when you let off the throttle and let him get around you, and then make that time back up once you have clean track, and hopefully he pulls away from you. Sometimes it doesn't go that easily. Sometimes you let a lapper go because you think he's faster, and then he just kind of comes back to you, and you play this revolving door game, and it's a little bit frustrating. But either way, you just got to be aware of what's going on around you, and maybe, like you said, cooler heads will prevail. But qualifying has concluded. The checkered flag has flown over that particular point of the session. We do have our starting grid. Hand it off to you for the poll there, Peter.
Yeah, and it was a great lap right at the end by driver of the number 88 machine, Nick Kessler, who went out there and just pipped Philip Scott to the pole by 5 thousandths of a second. Very impressive there by Nick Kessler to get the pole from the fastest driver in practice, Philip Scott. Jason Gracias, Tristan Maher will be on row number 2. Martin Plute, Mike Floppy Tellier on row number 3. Doug Neal and Adam Newton on row number 4. Dominic Tesoro and Tom Lester rounding out our top 10 here tonight, Andre.
We got Nate Maurer in P11 alongside Stan Hausman there in 12th. And behind them, you've got Blaine Sparling, the rookie you mentioned there, making his first start and doing so in style here, mid-grid. Not a bad qualifying effort, only 2/10 off pole. Justin White to his outside. Behind them, Vinny Valvano, Randy Bledsoe. I apologize if I mispronounced that. We have Jimbo, P17, and Adam Dama, 18th. 19th is going to go to Scott Tompkins, and 20 is going to go to Tyler Bellinger.
Yeah, behind Bellinger, Julian Tesoro, we think he's going to have to come down pit road after being down multiple laps last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We'll see what he can do. Dalton Hayes will be starting alongside him from 22nd. Randy Perdue and David Buell make up row number 12. And a little bit further back, big field here tonight, Garrett Gleason, Adam Benefiel, and Adam Lichty in the number 51, rounding out our 27 drivers here tonight that will take part. Always a good show here. And Andre, this racetrack is one that is very difficult, and it's made more difficult because there's still some sun out there on the racetrack. Current track temperature right there at the bottom of the right-hand side graphic, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll see that drop, and maybe these drivers will get a little bit extra grip as they go on here tonight.
Yeah, they're going to be hoping that it drops. It's still a little bit slick out there, even with these moderately cool temps. I heard a lot of chatter on the radio. I've been here watching practice for about an hour, and the one commonality I heard that everybody was saying as soon as they pulled out on track was, man, this thing feels like a skating rink. Everybody was sliding around, a lot of kind of skating through the corner, and it kind of goes back to the risk versus reward at this track. You are really sliding through these corners, and it's just a matter of how fast are you willing to slide through them. And so if they can get a little bit more grip, that'll be hugely beneficial for these guys. And as the sun drops, I'm sure it'll happen. Pace car is on the backstretch and the lights are off. It will be Nick Kessler leading the field to the green for 125 laps of action. That's going to be a long 125 laps for these drivers. Darlington, one of the more physically demanding tracks and mentally demanding as well. So we'll see how well they can handle it and what kind of attrition we will have tonight. But there goes the pace car. Hard left turn, Nick Kessler waiting a moment out of turn 4. Doesn't want to go immediately, might lose grip. Coming onto the straightaway, into the restart zone. The green flag does fly, but the outside lane is prevailing here, Peter. Look at this. The 99 getting the jump. He may get clear into turn 1, and he does.
Yeah, great start there by the number 99 machine of Philip Scott as they head out of turn number 2. Look at them all get single file. Justin White, maybe first side-by-side action. Some great racing mid-pack. These drivers really getting things all sorted out. One driver there going below the apron, but Philip Scott able to hold on to the race lead here as we complete lap number 1 here at Darlington.
Nick Kessler got a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. He was getting real aggressive. He actually gave the 99 a bit of a bump into 3 and then coming out of forward, he tried to get back to the bumper and tried to slide underneath him, but it just wound up pinching that car, and it got him sideways. He made a great save, though. He was able to keep that thing on track, kept second place. Now he's got a little bit of a gap to try to regain before he can make another lunge at the lead. You mentioned him single filing out. You're going to see a lot of that. This is such a narrow track, not one you want to be 2 and especially 3 wide on. I think these guys early on are going to be biding their time and just being cautious, because this is one of those tracks. You make one mistake, you have one lapse in concentration, you might find yourself spinning out or sliding up into the wall, and you got to be there at the end if you want to win it.
Julian Tesoro on pit road. Early setback for the number 30, having to serve that penalty from last week's race. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Philip Scott already able to leg it out a little bit on Nick Kessler, sitting at about 7/10 of a second lead. Meanwhile, really there hasn't been a whole lot of passes. Biggest mover of the race so far, Tyler Bellinger, currently running in the 17th position. Meanwhile, Julian Tesoro has left pit road. You can see right now the bottom right-hand graphic. Julian Tesoro sits 1 lap down already. Going to need one of those Lucky Dog Awards brought to you by our friends over at Brookstone Animal Hospital in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area. But right now, riding on board with Tyler Bellinger, our biggest mover of the race so far, but there's still plenty of race to go. Here's Tristan Maher, our points leader here in the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Go check out their podcast while you can. Link in the description of this here YouTube video. But Tristan has won 3 of the last 4 races, winning back a couple of weeks ago at Knock Hill on the road course. Of course, got the win last week at Gateway, also known as Worldwide Technology Park, and he got his first win of the season back at Iowa. So Tristan really running well here in the series, able to extend his points lead last week, but at least right now inside the top 5, right in front of Martin Plute, who was not in last week's race. Like we mentioned, Plute had to take a provisional, but still sits 3rd place in points, which really speaks, Andre, to how Martin Plute's season is going. You think back to Iowa Speedway, where he went into that race as the points leader, but had to retire early in that event. If it wasn't for Iowa and have not making last week's race, Martin Plute could be contending with Tristan Maher for the points lead.
It's one of those things with the season-long points format. If you build up a cushion, you can afford to miss here and there or have a bad race. And luckily, Martin Plute, through the troubles he's had, was able to kind of dip into the savings, so to speak, and use that points cushion he'd built up. But I would say the account is expended. He's going to have to start putting in some consistent runs here if he wants to really make a run at the championship. And we know that he can. He's a very talented driver, and we've seen him in victory lane here. So just a matter of consistency. And that's the story of the season, and it's the story of this track, too. Just as consistent as you can be here at Darlington is the way you want to drive it. So we'll see exactly how things go. Nick Kessler still 0.5 seconds back from Scott, and last time I checked, it kind of looked like they were just trading off lap times. 1 lap Kessler would be faster, 1 lap Scott would be a little bit quicker, and they're just kind of trading it back and forth. You're not going to see very consistent lap times here at Darlington, just due to how difficult it is to run. So they may kind of play this little game of yo-yo back and forth there, but is that some lap traffic I see in front of our leader already? But battle on your screen, 29 machine up top, and you see coming through the corner, that top lane really has that car dialed in, Peter. There's less bumps up there. The car feels like it rotates better up there. In my experience with the trucks at this track, you kind of want to avoid the bottom, except for the entry of turn 1. You want to dive it down to the apron, hit that apron, and then right here, slide up top. And look at this contact down the straightaway, Peter.
Yeah, that's the number 47 right there, the Terry Labonte throwback. Of course, Terry Labonte getting his last career win in NASCAR back here in, I want to say, 2003 in that very paint scheme that you see right there on your screen. Number 47 of Dalton Hayes getting around the number 25 machine of Randy Perdue. Now, Perdue has a pretty big gap back to that driver right there, David Buell, who's leading a little train of cars, but some good battling happening here towards the back of the pack. Let's jump back towards the front. However, 10 laps already in the books. Mike Floppy Tellier here, our winner from earlier this season at the Bristol Motor Speedway. He likes the Hello Kitty colors, and Bristol's a tricky little short track, Andre, where you have to play the lines. Well, you have to play the lines here at Darlington. You already see how those drivers, like you were mentioning, just kind of drift up towards the wall there. And that's what Tellier is pretty good at right now, running just outside the top 5 in the 6th spot, right in front of the number 77 of Doug Neal, running in the 7th position. Then behind them, Adam Newton, Dominic Tesoro, and Nathan Maurer. Maurer in the Simbox number 971. Of course, tonight is the Simbox 175. Make sure to check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/SimboxPC. As behind them, Stan Hausman and Tom Lester swap positions. Move Hausman now up into 11th.
It's a great move by Hausman, and you're going to see overtakes occur like that quite a bit here. You want to set it up ahead of time, and if you can, get him on corner exit, because you do not want to be side-by-side going into the corner. To go on board, speaking of side-by-side into the corner, these guys are going to go too wide and just barely keeping it off the wall, maybe scraping it a little bit, but he's going to maintain the position, comes down the track a little bit. They rubbed just as they came out of the corner, and now they're going to go back to battling through 1 and 2. Man, you would not think it's only lap 14 watching these guys, Peter.
Yeah, they're really battling things out. Here comes the number 64 of Valvano back to the inside. This is exactly where he was 1 lap ago. Can he make it stick this time? Sends it in a little bit further. The 64 of Valvano moves up now into the 13th position. Meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, we have had a change in position. Philip Scott has dropped back a couple of positions here, Andre. In the number 99, I'm seeing some right side damage to the National Ninja League Ford F-150. Let's see if we can go back and maybe get a look and see what may have happened, see if there was any contact with the wall here that might have led to this pass. Looks like Scott already had the damage at this point. This was the pass for second, as Philip just laid over and allowed Jason Gracias to whip on by the outside. But let me see if I can go back maybe just a little bit further and see if we can figure out what happened to the driver who was honestly running down Nick Kessler up at the front of the field. He had kind of brought in that gap by a fairly considerable amount, but unfortunately for Philip Scott, he now has that right side damage, and I'm just not seeing where that damage may have come from, but I wonder if he's just eaten up his tires.
Well, it definitely could be, but I'll tell you what, that right front damage is going to haunt him until he can get down pit road and get it fixed, because in all the laps that I turned here, my experience, if you scraped the wall and you saw that right front fender come up, it didn't look like much, but it felt like a parachute. You could hear the engine not running as high revs coming down the straightaway. It felt bogged down, and when he went into the corner, the car wasn't as loose, it wasn't as free, you couldn't quite get it to rotate, so that meant that you had to kind of quit steering with the steering wheel and steer with the throttle. If you wanted to get that thing to rotate, you pretty much had to get on the throttle and kind of slide it if you could, almost dirt track it. Otherwise, the car was going to get real tight on him. So that damage may not look like much, but he will be off pace until he can get it fixed. Luckily, as long as he doesn't have anything mechanically wrong with that car, as long as he didn't bend the axle or the A-arm or anything like that, when he does come down pit road, they should be able to get most of that fixed up, and the car should be good as new.
Yeah, meanwhile, up here towards the front of the field again, Martin Plute and the number 99 Philip Scott trading positions between the 99 and in the 8. Now I see a little bit of right front damage on the number 8 machine as well, so he's going to be in the same boat as the number 99. I saw the number 64 there briefly tag the outside wall as well, so Vincent Valvano has some right side damage. And you're right, Andre, that right side damage here at this racetrack, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but you can definitely feel it from behind the wheel and in your pace of the car. As we're now working through lap number 20 here tonight, all clean and green. Going to go check out the 3-Wide TV chat that we have going on here tonight. Make sure to check out tonight's race sponsor, facebook.com/SimboxPC. Righty Lee Angle saying the number 99 is the WNL. So he's now called the National Ninja League the World Ninja League. Well, you've changed from N to W. Congratulations to Philip and everyone part of the World Ninja League now. Garrett Austin saying, good luck, guys. Wish I was out there with you. Unfortunately, my job runs my life, Garrett. I know how that is. Stan Houseman in the chat as well here before the start of the race. Darian Caitlin saying, let's go, number 28, Adam Dama. So let's actually check out Adam Dama here in just a moment as you see the number 97 of Mike Floppy Tellier making a pass. That will move the Canadian driver out of Sarnia, Ontario, into the top 5 for the first time here tonight, picking up one spot from where he started here. But let's go check out Adam Dama, who's, well, I was going to say let's check out Adam Dama, but Dama is off the racetrack. Not sure what happened to the number 28 machine, but an early exit for the driver who is based in Korea and luckily able to race with all these drivers as the 88 of Nick Kessler flirts with the outside wall through 3 and 4. That's about as close as you can get there, Andre. He must have been floating that air cushion.
I think he did more than flirt with it. I think he asked it to buy him dinner. He got into it pretty good there, and that allowed the gap behind to close a ton. So that battle's getting a little bit more interesting. And speaking of battles, look at this right here. We got a gaggle of cars working their way through the corner, still single file. And I'm noticing, Peter, the more this race goes on, the more these guys are starting to flirt with that apron down in 3 and 4. Kind of get down there, touch 2 tires of that apron, use it for rotation. It's a risky move, but it's definitely helping out their lap times. And I got to wonder if when this track starts to cool down more, if you don't see everybody migrate a little bit lower in 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah, Randy Bledsoe, the number 81 machine there, got into the outside wall. Dalton Hayes in the 47 able to scoot on by. So move the number 47 of Hayes into the 17th position. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field here, Andre, things looking really spicy because it is the number 88 machine who has led for a majority of the race now since he got around Philip Scott. But that number 1 right back behind him is closing. And we know how good Jason Gracias is here at this particular racetrack. Randy Bledsoe has come down pit road after that contact with the outside wall to try and get some of that damage repaired. But right now, this is the battle for the race lead. Gracias wants it here as we close in. Now Gracias looks to the inside. Great momentum out of turn number 4, and the 88's just going to let him have it.
You know what? That was a smart move by the 88. We talked about cooler heads prevailing and being smart while you're on the track. That was a smart move by Kessler. He could have battled him for it. He could have stayed side by side going into the corner, but at that point, he'd have a disadvantage. He'd be pinned to that high line right up against the wall, possibly get some damage on that truck or maybe wreck them both. It's easier just to let him go now and get it back later. Very smart move by Kessler. And we know that he's got the pace, so give it some time. I'm sure he'll be back up there. But as that all happened, the driver that took advantage of that was Tristan Maher, our, I believe, 3-time race winner this season. He's looking for his 4th. He followed Jason Gracias through on the bottom, put himself up into 2nd, and now his pace is actually a little bit quicker per lap than our leader. Last time by for Tristan Maher, it was a 32.1. For our leader, it was a 32.3. And through 3 and 4, he's going to close the gap a little bit more. I noticed Maher is able to get on the power just a little bit sooner. That maybe because he's been kind of saving his tires, whereas Gracias was racing so hard with Kessler. Might have used his stuff up a little bit quicker, but time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell. There's a look at the current race track and where your favorite driver is located out there here at this very odd-shaped, egg-shaped racetrack, Andre. And, of course, the shape of this racetrack goes back many years as the 88 again flirts with the outside wall through turn number 3 and 4. They actually had a pond just on the outside of turn number 3, and because of the pond, hold on, I'm looking at that chart down there. We'll come back to that here in a second, but I'm seeing Vincent Valvano. Just barely made it through there, but something's happened to the number 64 here, Andre. He was off the pace already before coming down pit road. I was looking at that graphic, and I just saw the number 64 off the pace. Let's see if we can see what happened here to the number 64 machine racing with the number 21 there. Oh, heavy contact. I believe that was Tyler Bellinger who made contact with Vincent Valvano. They were able to keep it going straight. Let's see if we can go back and get another 3-wide TV replay on board here with Tyler Bellinger. I think Valvano, he got into the wall there, and Bellinger tried to be a little bit sneaky here. A very difficult portion of the racetrack, and it just narrows up there so much. They make contact, and both of those trucks damaged.
Yeah, you got to be real careful. Anytime you're that low coming out of turns 1 and 2, I should say, you kind of expect that car is going to slide up towards that safer barrier. And like you said, it narrows up so quickly. If you got somebody on the outside of you, there's very little you can do to avoid a situation like that. So you got to be careful, and it's a shame for the number 64. It looks like we have an issue with the 18. Maybe a blown engine as smoke is billowing out of the engine bay in that thing, and a ton of right side damage. Let's take a look at the 3-wide TV replay, see what happened to that number 18 machine.
Yeah, just trying to figure out what exactly caused this blown motor. It could have just been the fact that here we go, coming through turn number 2. Oh, got into the wall. Then bounced it off the inside wall. Okay, came back up the racetrack as, oh man, I think that's the number 59 there. Had to make some evasive maneuvers. We'll get another look at that here in just a moment. Not enough to bring out a caution flag, as we have still green flag through the opening 33 laps here. Jimbo heavy into the outside wall, comes down heavy into the inside wall. And yeah, not enough to bring out a caution as, oh man. I think it's the number 59 who needs a new pair of underwear there. Let me see if I can go and see if we can get a ride on board with the number 59 machine here. Let's see what he saw coming off the corner. Here we go, looking out the front mirror. There's a car going up the racetrack. Car going down the racetrack, and able to steer it back in the right direction in time. That's a lucky break for Blaine Sparling, currently running in the 13th position, right where Blaine started tonight's event. Meanwhile, everything is settling down a little bit. As I say that, though, Randy Perdue may have just had a moment. Let's see if we can... I don't know, was already on pit road in his number 25 machine, so not sure what's happened with Randy Perdue, but technically taking a tow back to pit road. So getting some attrition here around lap number 35.
And you kind of expect to see this. At this point, the tires are starting to fall off. The truck is not feeling as solid as it was at the beginning of the run, and you have to be careful. So it's easy to overestimate your vehicle's ability and how much grip it has and kind of get into the corner a little bit too deep, and this is not a track that allows you to do that. When you get into the corner just a little too deep, you get on the throttle a little bit too soon, and you're going to be having a meet and greet with a safer barrier. You have to drive this track cautiously. I know racers hate this saying, but if there was ever a track where this holds true, it's this one. Slower is faster, Peter. If you take it easy and you keep your car in good condition, you know you're going to have a good result. Look at all these guys out here having issues, overdriving the car. If you're just on the track and you're capitalizing on that, you're having a good points day.
Yeah, that is for sure. Stan Hausman, number 39 machine, just put a pass on Doug Neal. Now we're watching the number 2 of Justin White making that same pass. Meanwhile, Martin Plute says, hey, I want to get around Doug Neal too, as we're 3 wide off the corner. That's Garrett Gleason, the number 7 on the inside of the racetrack. And Doug Neal slides all the way back to the 11th position there in a hurry. Meanwhile, Nick Kessler with now right side damage. He's fallen back to 4th. Philip Scott has passed him with a damaged number 99 machine. But so far, your race leader right there on your screen, that is Jason Gracias, able to keep his truck clean. Behind him, now about 1.5 seconds so, is number 17 Tristan Maher. Maher trying to keep it clean. As here comes the number 2 of Justin White to get around Stan Hausman. This is the side-by-side battle for 8. Mike Floppy Tellier's lost a couple of positions, also now showing right side damage. These drivers really struggling with that right side damage. I know we call it the Darlington stripe, and we call it the Darlington stripe for a reason, because you see the scrapes on the right-hand side of that number 97 Toyota Tundra. That's what we call the Darlington stripe, and the number 97 has picked it up, and the drivers who haven't, the drivers able to keep it clean so far. Well, the good news is they've been able to keep it clean so far, but Andre, there's still over 85 laps to go tonight.
Yeah, a lot of racing left and even some pit stops to look forward to. coming up on lap 40. I'm not entirely sure what a full fuel run would be here. I've got to imagine it's somewhere around the low 60s in lap count. So still a ways over the horizon, but growing closer nonetheless. And that's something to think about. Strategy, I think, is going to be pretty big here. Tires are very important. You know, sometimes we come to a track where you can kind of get away with getting a bit of an undercut or a bit of an overcut. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference just because the tires plateau. They don't really fall off that much. But this track, man, you're going to be losing a second and a half, 2 seconds off your lap time. So when you take those tires and how you choose to allocate them is going to play a big factor in your end result tonight. And these guys got to be thinking about that. I'm not sure how many of these guys have pit crews up on the box actually, you know, making decisions for them, and how many of them are making those decisions on the fly behind the wheel for themselves. But it will be interesting. And speaking of interesting, Peter, that gap to the lead, I mentioned it was closing. Well, here it is. He is there. Tristan Maher right behind Jason Gracias. The question is, how does he set up this overtake? Where does he complete it? It's so hard to pass here, but if you can just get a little momentum coming out of the corner and maybe get side by side, you got a shot at it.
Something must have happened to the Backcraft number 1 machine of Jason Gracias about 5 laps ago now, because he had over a second lead, and in about a lap he lost about 7 to 8 tenths of a second. So Gracias must have had a little bit of a moment or something to allow Tristan Maher to close on in, but now the Eclipse Photography number 17 is right there for the taking. Meanwhile, speaking of taking, we got some drivers taking to pit lane. Some of those, Mike Floppy Tellier there, Dominic Tesoro, and Stan Hausman. All 3 of those drivers in their pit box currently. Here comes Martin Plute, the number 8 machine, coming down pit road, trying to fix some of his damage as well. Tricky pit lane to get onto here, Andre, because it's all the way on the bottom side of turns number 3 and 4. Of course, the flat portion of the racetrack, a very narrow radius down there as well. You really have to use the brakes. You really have to flat track the car. And flat tracking, you of course got flat track motorcycle racing, right? But flat track, a stock car should be kind of its own sport as well, because it can be very difficult to get one of these machines set up for running on the banking to behave when it's on the flat portion of the racetrack.
Absolutely, and in the case of this track here, there is no grip down on the apron. It's just dust and marbles. Whereas you're up on the racing surface, you've got all kind of rubber laid down, and it's just got a little bit more grip. As soon as you touch that apron, your grip levels are just diminished immediately. So not only are you transitioning from that banking down to the apron and trying to get woed up in time to get down pit road, but you're dealing with that grip loss, and it's not an easy thing to do. So we have a few more cars coming down pit road, and I would assume all these guys coming down pit road now are pretty firmly in 2-stop territory. So they'll pit now, lap 45, maybe pit again somewhere around lap 90, and then they are solid to the end. I'm not sure how much further many of these guys can go. It looks like the majority are coming down pit road now, so the 2-stop strategy proving to be pretty prevalent here. Say that 3 times fast, as they all make their way down pit road, but our leader has yet to make the call.
Yeah, Jason Gracias, Tristan Maher, Philip Scott, and Tom Lester in the number 48, who we have not talked about much here tonight. But as I say that, I pan over to the number 48 in the outside wall there. A lot of right side damage, unfortunately, on that number 48. In fact, he's about to fall 1 lap down. Now, station is the sponsor, it appears, on that number 48. Right there, as the race leader, Jason Gracias, is going to whip on by on the outside. There goes Tristan Thuggy Maher along with him. Third place struck Philip Scott, coming down pit lane as we speak. But your leaders continue to stay out here at the Darlington Raceway as the sun continues to set. Let's just check in here, Andre, on the current track conditions on the right-hand side of your screen. Track temperature has not really fallen since the drop of the green flag. That's possibly due to the friction between the Goodyear tires and the surface of the track, as Martin Plute has a big wiggle there, right there in the number 8 machine. A little bit of a bunking Bronco out of turn number 2.
Yeah, he got big loose. That was a phenomenal save. Anytime a truck fishtails like that and you're able to keep it going straight, You're doing a good job. Here comes Philip Scott, I believe, merging onto the back straightaway after his pit stop. And I'm looking at lap times. Our leader is currently running about 32 flats to 32 ones. That is 2.5 seconds off of pole time, Peter. These tires are falling off of a cliff.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And you compare that to some of the other drivers on fresh tires out there right now, like Nick Kessler, who's the first driver on fresh tires. Last time by Nick Kessler, he ran a 30.07 lap time. That's 1.8 seconds faster than Jason Gracias right now up at the front of the field. Here comes Martin Plute, going to get one of his laps back, currently being scored 2 laps down. At least we thought he was going to get one of his laps back. Went all the way down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Maybe not a smooth move there as he's racing with the number 21 machine. Of course, the number 21 driven by Tyler Bellinger right there, involved in some contact a little while ago with the number 64 of Vincent Valvano. Valvano has called it a night off at the racetrack. Jimbo also with his blown motor off the racing surface. Randy Bledsoe has retired the number 81. Adam Dama has retired the number 28. Extended stays on pit road for Martin Plute. I believe a pit road speeding penalty. Adam Newton in the number 29 also an extended stay on pit road for a pit lane speeding penalty. Both of those drivers serving 40-second stop and holds. And Andre, that is absolutely killer here tonight at Darlington, when the lap time here is just about 30 seconds. That's an entire lap and more that you lose with that penalty.
I tell you what, as a driver, 40 seconds goes by in the blink of an eye when you're on the track, but when you're on pit road, watching that track official hold you up for 40 seconds feels like 4 hours. So unfortunate to pick up those penalties and now making their way out of pit road after having served them. Here comes the number 17, Tristan Maher, as well as Jason Gracias. These drivers finally making the call, and Maher actually a little bit past his stall, had to throw it in reverse, get back where he needed to be. So he's going to lose a little bit of time there, but I don't think that's going to matter a whole lot, Peter. I think both these drivers have lost a ton of time just for how long they stayed out. And even though he went through his pit stall, look at that. Maher beating Jason Gracias off of pit road, but where are they going to merge in terms of track position? Because you got to think some of these guys that have fresher tires or have had fresher tires are going to be making up time on them. Last time by, Maher and Gracias still had the lead, but as they come to the line this time, we're riding on board there with Tristan Maher. Where are they going to sort out in terms of position? Looks like Nick Kessler has the lead. Philip Scott, P2. Mike Tellier, P3. Nathan Maurer, 4th. We've got Tristan Maher all the way back in 5th. And Jason Gracias, Peter, he lost even more time taking that long run strategy. He's all the way back in 8th, battling with Tom Lester.
Yeah, but those drivers just now coming out pit road will have the freshest tires, and they'll have a big advantage here, pitting right around lap number 50 here tonight. There is Jason Gracias, just got around Stan Hausman in that number 39, BeerStreetJournal.com Ford F-150. If you have not checked out Beer Street Journal so far this season, well, make sure you do so. BeerStreetJournal.com is the place that I go to check out all of my craft beer news, and you can go check them out and learn about new brews that are happening across the country that you can find in your local craft beer store. As the number 1 of Gracias there, running that high line through turns number 3 and 4, trying to close in on the back of Tristan Maher. Maher with a much better pit stop, and interestingly enough, there, Andre, the number 17 had actually taken the race lead before they came down pit road. I think it was a lap before they came down pit road. Let's see if we can get this one on a 3-wide TV replay, see how that pass for what was then the race lead was made. Maher diving down to the inside. There's that flat trekking I was talking about, Andre, as the number 17 of Maher just doing a better job of getting it woed up. You could see him throw some counter steer in it and let that number 17 slide to slow it down to get onto pit lane.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal job. Of course, the shorter way around the track is on the bottom, and Maher knew that. He took a risk, and it was a calculated risk. It ended up getting him some track position. So we'll see how that plays out. And like you said, both those drivers are going to have the freshest tires in the field, so we'll see how much they can use those to their benefit. And you talk a little bit about the flat track, and well, back when this track was built, Peter, and I say this every time we come here just because I'm so fascinated by it, they originally intended for the flat part of the track to be the racing surface, and the banking was just a bit of a runoff to catch cars in case they got wide. Somebody eventually, as we look at the 3-wide TV replay, Maher having to check up, I'm sorry, that wasn't Maher. One of these drivers having to check up quite a bit there, the number 2 machine, as somebody kind of load up on the straightaway. But as I was saying, Peter, the banking was never intended to be the running surface. Then somebody discovered, hey, it's way faster to be up here, so everybody just kind of started running up there, and then the racing surface became the apron.
Yeah, I love that that little tidbit about this racetrack too. That the flat side of the racetrack was, like you said, where they anticipated. They I wouldn't say they necessarily intended on people doing it, but they anticipated no one would run the banking. They anticipated everyone would run on the bottom side of the racetrack, and lo and behold, everyone figured out that that was actually the slower way around the racetrack. You know, you think about physics and you go, huh, you know, I'm surprised that they didn't figure that out beforehand. But the banking is what it is, and aren't we glad it is what it is, because it puts on a show every time as Philip Scott gets around Nick Kessler. Slightly fresher tires on Philip Scott's number 99, World Ninja League number 99 machine right there. Getting to the front for the first time here tonight. Actually, not the first time here tonight. I take that back. Started on the outside pole, got to the race lead early, relinquished it to the driver who now sits right behind him. Just a little bit into the show. There's Tristan Maher, though, in the number 17, who pitted quite a few laps after the couple of trucks in front of him. Last pitted on lap number 51, 5-lap fresher tires than Philip Scott, and is absolutely mowing these drivers down with some very fast laps. The sun continues to slip away here at Darlington Raceway. Get a look here of the racetrack as Nathan Maurer in the 971 allows the number 17 to get on passes and move Maher up into third here. One driver you're not seeing a whole lot of just yet. Well, as I say that, he just creeps into the picture. I was going to say that's chasing Gracias, because he was kind of out of the last couple of shots that we had, but he now whips around Nathan Maurer to move up into fourth.
And you know what? He's actually a tenth of a lap faster per lap on average than Maher in the number 17. He's closing that gap big time as Nick Kessler is going to drop to the bottom of the track. Not sure if he's just trying to let these guys go, or if maybe he's... Okay, yeah, he's just letting these guys go. Massively off pace down low. He's going to rejoin the racing surface. But as I was saying, Gracias consistently quicker than Maher. He's got a bit of a gap to run down, and both of these drivers are looking at the tailgate of that World Ninja League at 99. Philip Scott still holding on to the lead, and he's got older tires, Peter, but only by about 5 laps. And depending on when they hit that tire wear plateau, Philip Scott could easily stay in this lead pack and have a chance at it. He just can't let these guys get too far away while they have this advantage.
Yeah, and up at the front of the field, a new race leader again, Tristan Maher, able to get the number 17 up to the front, made that pass on Philip Scott with those fresher tires, and he can now check out on the field here as we just crossed over the halfway distance here in tonight's event. Let's go turn over to the 3-wide TV chat. Stay tuned sports. Jimbo in the chat saying it was his chance to beat his arch nemesis Gleason here tonight, saying it was fun while it lasted. I absolutely love this racetrack, Jimbo. It's a lot of fun to drive, very difficult to drive, but one of my favorite racetracks in all of the sim, because it's just so rewarding as we watch this battle now for the second position between Jason Gracias and the number 99 of Philip Scott. Scott has 5-lap older tires than the number 1 machine, and I think Jason Gracias is going to dispose of him here very quickly, and sure enough, does so. But folks in the chat, thanks for tuning on in here tonight. I think the big question that I have, Andre, is no caution flags so far here tonight. We've been clean and green the whole way, but let's see if we can poll the chat, and let's see if the chat thinks there's going to be a caution here tonight.
You know, it almost seems inevitable. 125 laps, a 26 truck field that is now thinned out, admittedly. You'd think we'd have a caution at some point, just for sheer statistics of it. But it's really been a very clean race. We've had some single car incidents. iRacing at Darlington and at most of these tracks with very large runoffs tends to be very forgiving with the yellow flag. You can have a single car spin out, get sideways, go down to the infield, maybe hit the wall, and as long as nobody else is too close in proximity to them, iRacing Simulator does not throw a yellow flag. So I'm going to make a bet that we're not going to see a yellow flag tonight. I think the field is thinned out enough that these guys have kind of gotten through the attrition phase of the race, and now it's all about just putting down consistent laps and being clean.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be kind of surprising if we see a yellow, honestly, because we've just got into that point where everyone's now in a rhythm. We're past the halfway mark. I've been so clean, and for 27 trucks in the starting grid here tonight, we had a couple who did not start. I think we finally had 24 drivers make the starting grid here tonight, as we got a good battle here for the 11th position between Dalton Hayes and Blaine Sparling. Sparling looking to the inside, thinks better of it, and cooler heads prevail here on lap number 69. We do have a question in the chat, though, from Stay Tuned Sports, saying, who is your pick here tonight? Asking Andre and myself. Andre, man, I think it's going to be difficult to bet on the driver who's in form, Tristan Maher.
Yeah, Tristan Maher is, he's on a roll, and he's been on a roll all season long. He has the lead currently, but I guess, I've always been a bit of a contrarian, Peter, so I'm going to go ahead and say my pick is Jason Gracias. He is a little bit better at navigating this lap traffic so far from what I've seen, and he's right there on pace with Maurer. I mean, I couldn't tell you if he's legitimately faster or not, but it seems like they are just one-to-one following in each other's tire tracks, and how consistent they are is going to be the tiebreaker, and Gracias has been consistent all night.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Just now looking around the racetrack.
Oh boy, we got a car on the wall right in front of our leaders. That's going to check up the 17 as they go too wide in front of them. Here comes Gracias trying to capitalize. Near contact, the 17's in the wall. Jason Gracias to the lead in dramatic fashion. Tristan Maher dropping back, a little bit of right side damage. Can he recover?
Man, oh man, just when we were saying the driver on form right in the number 17, a little bit of bad luck. Here we go from the nose of Jason Gracias, number 1 machine. Look at Maher, pushes up the racetrack right there, and Gracias pounces on that opportunity. Man, if you're Tristan Maher, you're kicking yourself right now.
Well, you are and you aren't. I mean, I can't see what Maher could have done very differently there. He had a cluster of lapped cars there, and you can't blame the lapped cars either. I mean, it was a bit of a racing deal. Look at this. They go too wide. They're kind of trying to run their race and do what they do. Car gets loose on the bottom, and the 17's trying to give him room. That's what Maher was doing. He was being courteous, trying to give that guy as much room as possible to recover. But in doing so, he just exited a little bit too high, got up in the marbles, and slid up. It was just a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, so now we'll have to figure out just how bad that is hurting the number 17 of Maher, as Maher tries to go for 4 wins in the last 5 here tonight at the Darlington Raceway. We're closing in on 50 laps to go. Stay Tuned Sports saying Maher told me he wants to keep his less than 1 incident a race average down. Almost didn't do it there. Yeah, probably got an incident point, I would think, for wall contact there. That was hefty enough, I would say, Andre. But at least right now, trying to get around Dalton Hayes. Put Hayes a lap down in the number 47. If you're wondering about lead lap cars, they're only sitting at 10. We're down to 10 lead lap trucks here tonight, as we've been clean and green from the drop of the green flag. The last driver on the lead lap, Tyler Bellinger, who isn't all too far ahead, of Jason Gracias. And of course, we wanted to see some throwback schemes here tonight, and I can't recall this being a scheme at one point, Andre. Maybe you can remember. I know there were several Batman schemes. Maybe it's a throwback to like a Bill Elliott scheme, because I know he did some Batman schemes, but I don't think I recall this particular scheme. But we usually get 1 or 2 throwback schemes when we come here to Darlington. Is this ringing any bells with you as a throwback scheme?
You know, I almost want to say there was a Cup car in like 96 or 98 that ran a Batman scheme that was orange like that. It wasn't quite that same design. It was kind of reminiscent, late 90s car that I'm thinking of. I can't remember who it was. I almost want to say it was. It couldn't have been Tony Stewart because I don't think he would have been in Cup by then.
You absolutely nailed it. 1998 Dale Jarrett's NASCAR 50th anniversary scheme. The Ford credit should have given it away. Yeah, I don't recall that car, but honestly, one of the better looking Batman cars. I'm surprised I don't have that one in my recollection. But Dale Jarrett's scheme, 1998. You called it, Andre.
Well, there we go. Useless knowledge comes to fruition and finally has a use. So there you go.
And I don't think we have any other particular throwback schemes. Randy Perdue, of course, has his Dale Earnhardt-inspired scheme out there here tonight. But beyond the number 47, Dalton Hayes, we were just talking about with that Terry Labonte throwback scheme that he's got going for him. Of course, Terry Labonte getting that W here back in 2003 for his final career win. I grew up a Terry Labonte fan out of Texas. Of course, Texas Terry out of Corpus Christi down on the Texas coast. And I grew up a Labonte fan and wasn't a huge fan of his brother Bobby, but man, I'll tell you what, Terry Labonte and the Kellogg's number 5 machine was synonymous with my childhood almost. So pretty cool to see Dalton Hayes sporting that Terry Labonte scheme, which he's done a couple of times here in the National Sim Racing Association. But while we were in that ordeal, Tyler Bellinger fell one lap down. Now Stan Houseman right there in the BeerStreetJournal.com, number 39 Ford F-150 is the last driver on the lead lap. Needs a caution flag, and the driver, of course, in that Brookstone Animal Hospital lucky dog position is none other than Tyler Bellinger, at least until Jason Gracias can run down the number 39 machine. But there's still a little bit of a gap between Stan Houseman and Jason Gracias back behind him. But we're also, Andre, down to, I believe, just 18 running cars. Garrett Gleason in the number 7, who in the Coleman's Care Silverado on pit lane here, and it looks like this will be an extended stay for the Coleman's Care machine, as honestly, Andre, they need to give some care to that number 7 Silverado.
Yeah, it's going to need some love, that's for sure. Right side's looking a little worse for wear. I'm looking at the lap counter, Peter. We got to be getting close to some more green flag stops, probably the final green flag stops here on lap 82. Some of these guys that pitted on lap 45 or before, kind of expect them to come down around lap 90. And some of these guys, mainly Gracias and Maurer, who came down closer to lap 52, 53, we may stay out till well into the lap 100 range. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, we saw the running order completely jumbled up by the first green flag stop. Do you expect the second stop sequence to be so dramatic, Peter?
No, I don't. Honestly, that first round of pit stops really broke up the field, and you see all these gaps right now. About 2.5 seconds between everyone inside the top 5. So it would have to be a lot for something drastic to happen. We do have a couple battles out there on the racetrack. Here's one. Doug Neal racing with the number 59 machine right back behind him. That's Blaine Sparling, new to the series here tonight. They're battling here for the 12th position. And David Buell is racing with Adam Newton a couple of positions back. But we'll keep our eyes on this one here, Andre.
It's a good battle going on, and the sun is going down, the track's getting a little bit cooler, and I think you're going to see these guys get a little bit more bold when it comes to what they're willing to do when they're fighting with these other drivers. Right here, look at this, moving to the outside as we have somebody coming down pit road. That is the number, is that the 77? I can't quite make that out. Yes, indeed, it is the number 77, taking the short line down through the flat track into pit road. And this sequence is officially kicked off here on lap 85. Here comes Maher here in the 17 machine. Doesn't surprise me, Peter. He picked up some damage through that incident, getting into the right side wall, and I think the sooner he gets that fixed up, the more time he can spend on track with a clean car trying to make up time.
Yeah, Maher in his pit box right now. He'll let his Eclipse Photography machine or crew go to work. But look at all the other drivers sporting right side damage. We get a look there at the 77 of Doug Neal. We also saw the number 29 rolling off pit road. There's Stan Hausman, who's got some right side damage. Justin White in the number 2. His grind Chevrolet looks nice and clean. He's been putting together a solid run. But we saw the number 29 off of pit road. That's Adam Newton. Had that pit road speeding penalty first time he was on pit lane. This time, all good for Adam Newton. And also hearing that Tom Lester may have had to make an extra stop at some point. I'm not sure if that is true or not, or whether he just had an extended stay in his pit box before. But lap number 87 here. Clean and green since the drop of the green flag. If you're just now joining us, it's been a good race. Battle up at the front between Jason Gracias and the number 17 of Tristan Maher went back and forth for multiple laps until Maher hit the outside wall. And now we get to see a lot of drivers struggle with right side damage, Andre. I think at this point of the race, it might become which of these drivers has less right side damage, at least in the midfield.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pinpoint a driver that doesn't have right side damage. I remember back on Reddit a couple years ago when the real life NASCAR Cup Series was at Darlington. Somebody said they were going to play a drinking game where every time they saw somebody with right side damage, they were going to take a drink. This race right here, Peter, is proving why that is an absolutely terrible idea if you value your health.
Yeah, I don't think you're making it to the checkered flag. I think you're passed out. Hopefully you're just passed out, let's be honest. And hopefully you wake the next morning after that one. But yeah, right now working lap number 89. Jason Gracias here. I expected him to come down pit road here, Andre, but I think he's going to push it to closer to lap 100, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, he can afford to, and the long run strategy worked out for him the first time. He fell back into the running order a little bit, but he used those fresher tires to his advantage, got back to the lead, and never looked back. So if it worked the first time, why not do it again the second time? I believe that is Mike Tellier working out his way out of pit road. And there's the number 21 Batman car, truck, whatever you want to call it, coming down pit road. And at this point, really only a few holdouts, and of course, Gracias among them.
So, one of those is Gracias, and really the key holdouts right now, Andre. Jason Gracias, Nathan Maurer, who's currently running around here in second. Blaine Sparling yet to make his second pit stop. David Buell yet to make a second stop. Julian Tesoro also yet to make his second stop here tonight. It's been a tough night for Tesoro, who had that penalty at the beginning of the night and has not had an opportunity to race for the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. He was in that position briefly just after falling a lap down, but of course with no cautions, there's no good way to get back on the lead lap here tonight at Darlington. So Tesoro, just check on him. There he is in the number 30 machine, still laboring away out there, yet to make that stop. And now would be a really good time for that yellow to come out for Julian Tesoro, currently being scored in the 11th position. Like I said, not on the lead lap, because right now lead lap trucks are very few, but here comes Gracias down pit road with just over 30 laps to go.
So he'll have 30 laps on fresher tires, and I think that's going to work out perfect for him, Peter, because it really is about 30 laps before the fall-off becomes severe. So he's never going to really have to face that part in the cycle where the tires are just completely gone and you're just barely hanging on for dear life. That truck should be pretty comfortable for him for the remainder of this race, and I think that long-run strategy that he pulled, he was one of just a couple to do it. But I think it was a very smart call, and just like that, here comes Maurer down pit road as well, and that completes our second and likely final pit sequence.
So we'll see. There might be a couple of more drivers just to come down, but they won't be. I don't think they will be race leaders. So we'll put it that way. Meanwhile, Tristan Maher in the number 17 has whipped his way around the number 1 of Jason Gracias, and that's what fresh tires does here, Andre. Because Maher's out there on the racetrack, Jason Gracias is about 6 seconds back, but now Gracias is going to have to run down Tristan Maher to get that lead back.
Oh, he's got plenty of time, and he did it once. So he's just got to be smart about it. He's got to be consistent. About 31 laps of racing remaining here on the track. So as long as he's just a few tenths faster per lap, he can reel him in. And we know that the 17 probably still has some damage from that incident, or he did get a bit of it repaired there. If you're the number 17, though, you just got to tune that out. You don't look at your mirror. You don't think about the guy behind you. You run your race. You turn your laps. You make sure that you get through this lap traffic as smooth as possible. And if you're lucky, maybe you're still going to have the lead at the end of this thing.
31 laps to go. Here tonight, we're looking at Philip Scott, currently running in the second position, pitted on lap number 83. Tristan Maher pitted on lap number 84, 1 lap after him. Jason Gracias pitted on lap number 92, so 9 lap fresher tires for Jason Gracias in comparison to Philip Scott. That's going to give a huge advantage to that number 1 Toyota Tundra that you see right there on your screen. Meanwhile, let's look at this battle. This is the battle for the 5th position between Justin White and Nathan Maurer in the number 971 machine. Maurer looking to the inside of the number 2 of White. Of course, Maurer just pitted a couple laps ago, so he should have the fresher tires and does indeed pull off that pass and move himself into the top 5 once again here tonight in the Simbox 971 machine. Of course, it is the Simbox 175 here tonight. Make sure to check them out for custom button boxes. The Simbox PCs Facebook page. You can check them out at facebook.com/SimboxPCs. There's a link in the description of the video as well. Well built and at a good price. Simbox button boxes can add to your sim rig, and who doesn't need more buttons for their sim rig there, Andre? It seems like every time you get behind the wheel, you're trying to figure out what buttons to map to your wheel, and the button bot just makes it all easier.
I can't stress that enough. Here on iRacing, there's so many things that you're going to be doing while you're driving. Things like making pit setup adjustments, choosing how much fuel you're going to take. If you're doing road racing, you're doing even more. You're changing your traction control, you're changing your fuel mix, things like that. And if you're just doing that all off of your wheel, you're going to find pretty quickly that you're running out of button bindings. So button boxes are massively useful. And if you are serious about iRacing and sim racing in general and you don't have a button box, well, you're doing yourself a disservice. So check them out.
On board here with Jason Gracias as he is eating into the lead. I think when we first checked in with him, he was about 6 seconds behind Tristan Maher. Well, now he just finds himself about 2.6 seconds behind the number 17 Eclipse Photography F-150 here tonight. On board with him, here comes the number 59 up the racetrack. The number 59, of course, driven by elite newcomer Blaine Sparling here tonight, has recently made his second pit stop on lap number 96. So should be fresh tires on that Toyota Tundra as he's trying to race around a couple of these drivers right here. You see Julian Tesoro, a couple of trucks in front of him. Ooh, Tesoro having some connection issues, and all of a sudden, Gracias finds himself a little boxed in here.
Yeah, these guys are too wide in front of him, and he's really got nowhere to go. Other tracks, maybe you think about throwing it 3 wide to get around the lap traffic, or not even lap traffic. One of these guys is per position. But this track, no. If they're too wide in front of you, all you can do is let off the throttle, take it easy, and wait for them to sort it out, which is painful to do as a driver. You never like to slow down more than you need to and kind of race that way, but sometimes you have to. And that's exactly what Gracias did. It was the smart way to race. He lost some time doing it. Lost about a second to leader Tristan Maher, but now he's got some clear track in front of him. He was lapping consistently quicker before that, so if he gets back in a rhythm, he should go back to running him down. But the clock is ticking, Peter. We are here on lap 102 out of 125, so we have 24 laps to go. He's got to make something happen soon.
Yeah, he's got to figure out a way to get up to the race leader, and just has to be about 1/10 of a second faster per lap to get to the back of Tristan Maher. I think he can knock that out. He just has to watch that right front. If he gets into the outside wall, puts a lot of beating on that right side, it could be night done for Gracias. He just has to be patient here. He's got the pace. He's got the tires over the number 17 machine. He does have lap traffic to deal with here. As you can see, a couple of trucks, 3 trucks now between him and the number 17, which always can cause for some hairy moments. But If you're Gracias, just play it safe here. You got time. You got lap count in your favor here. The only thing that would go against them, though, is if a caution flag was to wave, like right about now, or in the next couple laps, before he gets around Tristan Maher, rather. But you see Maher there just got passed by Julian Tesoro. Tesoro now 2 laps down, and now the number 59 there of Sparling trying to get one of his laps back as Gracias gets around Stan Houseman. Let's focus on here on Tristan Maher because he's going to have number 1 of Gracias behind him here in a hurry.
Yeah, Gracias is booking it. Just a moment ago, the Beer Street Journal truck made a hard left turn to let the number 1 go, and that was hugely helpful to Gracias. He was able to rocket down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, our leader Maher was dealing with Tesoro and Sparling at the exact same time, so it closed the gap. Now Jason Gracias is there. He's got fresher tires. Does he make the move into 3 and 4? Now he thinks better of it. He was right on the bumper on corner entry, but decided just to ride behind him, wait it out, a slightly better opportunity, and he's going to try to take this on corner exit using those fresher tires to put the power down a little bit sooner. It's going to get him side by side going into turn 1. He is clear. Jason Gracias takes the point.
Gracias back to the front with those fresh tires, and he can now set sail here, Andre. 20 laps to go, fresher tires, feeling a little bit like a superhero out there on the racetrack, I'm sure, in that number 1 Bagcraft Toyota Tundra. There's no better feel to be in this situation. You know you have fresher tires in the competition. You know you got 19 laps to go. You know you have one of the fastest trucks out there on the racetrack. Just keep plugging away. Keep the right front clean. Keep it between the walls. And at this point, if you don't see another caution flag, it's going to be darn tough to get by the number 1 of Jason Gracias as Adam Newton throws up some sparks there. Bottom corner of your screen. We're now down to just 7 trucks on the lead lap. Mike Floppy Tellier is the last of which in his pink Hello Kitty machine. That's not in there at the bottom of your screen as Gracias puts the 29 of Adam Newton down another lap. It's been a night to forget for Adam, who falls now 2 laps down in the number 29 machine, running in the 12th position after that early pit road penalty that he had in his 29 Toyota Tundra. Into that last round of pit stops, though, no speeding penalties to note. So I think we just had those 2 that happened under the first round here tonight, and probably the only 2 pit lane penalties that we'll see all race long with so few laps left, and we know all these drivers are good to go on fuel, Andre. Hopefully that's it for pit lane tonight.
Hopefully, and I'm sure some of these drivers are hoping that it stays green as well. I was going to ask you, Peter, what were the results on our poll about getting cautions?
Well, everyone voted yes, that there would be a caution flag. So I would say odds were in their favor. But now I'm starting to think that odds are no longer in their favor. We're down to 16 laps to go, and all these drivers doing a really good job of keeping their race trucks nice and clean. Yes, we had some early attrition. Yes, we had some situations where we had some spins and contact that didn't bring out any yellows earlier in the race, but it seems like those situations are becoming further and fewer in between. I can't recall having one in quite some time now. So I think we're going to go green all the way to the end. Meanwhile, let's go check out this battle for position. This is Philip Scott, who's actually run down Tristan Maher here, Andre, as these 2 duke it out for second.
Yeah, we got a good battle going on for second place here. Philip Scott right on the bumper, and they are sailing into 3 and 4 here. Philip Scott's going to take a lower line, 17 right up against the wall. That's going to give him a good exit, and that's where he's getting the advantage over the 99. But it seems like Scott is able to really drive it in deep, which is a pretty valuable thing at this track, especially as the tires wear. You kind of get prompted to back the corner up more and more, but if you can drive it in deep, that's what you want to do. So we'll see how these guys sort it out. Ahead of them, they are slowly closing in on the lap car of Adam Newton in the 29. And when they get to him, that could shake things up even more, as Philip Scott looked high there to maybe make a move, and now right up against the wall. Seems like Philip is just kind of going up and down everywhere he can to try to find some speed. And here it is, down to the bottom. side by side. Maher's going to drop back one position to P3, but the 99 slides up. There's contact between them. Maher is able to gather it up, but just a bit of a slide job miscalculation by Philip Scott.
Yeah, a couple of teammates there racing with one another as well. The Total Nonstop Racing team has, of course, Philip Scott and Tristan Maher on it, so that could have been a little bit of a situation had they taken each other out at this stage of the race, but able to stay off one another just a little bit. Meanwhile, I want to go a little bit further back behind him to this driver right here. That's a 971 machine. Nathan Maurer is starting to creep into the picture. He's running in the 4th spot right now, and about 3.5 seconds behind Tristan Maher, but has an 8-lap tire advantage on the number 17. So Maurer could be a factor for the top 3 before it's all said and done. 11 laps to go this time, and I've been just kind of watching the lap history between Maher and Maurer, and of course Maher was locked up in that battle just a little while ago, but Maurer's been catching him pretty good here. Last time by about a half second. We'll see what it's like here this time by. There's really not a whole lot of battles out there on the racetrack going on. Dalton Hayes is a 1.6 seconds behind Doug Neal. Currently, that's the best other battle on the racetrack, to be perfectly honest with you. Really no other battles under 2 seconds or so. So we'll just ride on board here with Nathan Maurer, who continues to chug away. That time 0.4 of a second faster. Andre, he's going to be there on the back bumper of Tristan Maher before the checkered flag if he can continue this pace.
Yeah, he is reeling him in something fierce. I mean, 0.4 of a second is not insignificant. And then he had that lap about 3 laps ago where he was 1.4 seconds faster. I believe Maher was involved with some lap traffic there, and that's kind of the cause of the difference in pace. But either way, he is absolutely not chipping away at this lead. He is taking chunks out of it, and he may get himself a podium before it's all said and done. It seems like not only does he have fresher tires, but it seems like Maurer has just been getting better all night in general, even disregarding the tire advantage. As the temps have gone down and the sun has fallen behind the tree line, that car has come to life for him, and he has been one of the best on the track. So it would be very fitting if he could walk away with a podium here.
Bring out the 3-wide TV Gyro Cam here. 8 laps to go on board with Nathan Maurer. 150 miles an hour through turns number 1 and 2. Probably no longer keeping that foot flat like they were in qualifying a little earlier in the night on fresh tires. But you can see Maurer heavily gets on the brakes for turn number 3 and 4, down to about 130. Quite a bit slower through 3 and 4 because, of course, it is a little bit tighter of a corner. And then it's upwards of 160 miles an hour on the straightaway before letting it drift down through turn number 1. Slides up just a little bit again, about what we saw last lap, around 150 before getting back on that loud pedal. Now the fastest portion of this racetrack is right here before you get on the brakes, almost 170 miles an hour. Probably is braking 170 miles an hour on fresher tires, but Maurer, you can see he's got the bit between the teeth, trying to close in on that truck right in front of him. The lap count now down to 6. Let's take a check on that lap history between these two. Last couple of laps here, Andre, just a couple of tenths. Maurer gonna need to pick up the pace here.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough. He just continues to be 1/10 here and there. 6 laps to go. He's going to need to get back into that 4/10 per lap category, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to. Maher in front of him has clear track, which is something that he hasn't really had for a very long time. He was dealing with lap traffic for a string of about 10 to 15 laps consecutively, and now not a whole lot in his windshield going on, so he can kind of hit his marks and pick up the pace a little bit. So that's not in Maurer's advantage here. He's going to have to do everything he can, but things are looking less and less likely here as the laps wind down.
Yeah, another quarter of a second that last lap. The current gap between these two drivers is sitting at just about 1.5 seconds. So maybe Tristan Thuggy Maher has just done enough here that he's going to be able to hold on to the spot. And again, Maurer not able to find the pace he needs that last time by 4 laps ago. Now Maurer might be having to deal with the aero wash off the back of Adam Newton, who's in front of him. Maybe that will cause a little bit of a situation. Here we go on board with Maurer. That's the look out front. Meanwhile, Gracias has a commanding 9.6 second lead. It feels like just a handful of laps ago that he got to the race lead here, Andre. But he's been able to hold on and really pull away.
Yeah, he has just been pretty much flawless tonight. At number 1, Jason Gracias has just been doing everything he needs to do. And, I mean, perfect strategy, perfect lines. I'm not even sure he got any right side damage tonight, Peter. It's just been a phenomenal showing from Jason Gracias, and these drivers behind him as well, putting on a phenomenal showing. Philip Scott, Tristan Maher, these guys have made a few mistakes here and there, as you expect at Darlington, but their overall pace and just the competition level has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have one battle for position underneath a half second as Jason Gracias behind these two takes the white flag. Julian Tesoro has closed in on Martin Plout. Plout's in the wall. That's going to allow Tesoro to really close in on this. It's a battle for the 14th position. Tesoro was put in a hole at the beginning of the race, and he's going to try and make up for it. Meanwhile, behind him, Jason Gracias into the picture in the Bagcraft Toyota Tundra. No damage on the right side, like you said. Comes out of turn number 4. Gonna come and take the checkered flag. Take the Simbox 175 here tonight. But let's see what's happening right in front of him, because Martin Plout trying to hold on to that position. Andre, you know, at this point of the race, if you're Martin Plout, you want to hold on to that spot. Yes, it's the battle for 14th, but you want every spot you can get.
Not only that, but we talked about Martin Plout needing to be consistent, needing to put some points in the bank, and every point counts. You can't just let guys go by, because you're going to find yourself bankrupt in terms of points if you do that. So coming to the line, it looks like Martin Plout will barely hold on to that 14th position. And what a battle it was. Very hard fought, and a great showing by both those guys. Clean, respectful racing.
And this driver right here, great race. Started in 3rd, and now getting to do burnouts here on the front stretch for all the fans at home. Jason Gracias. And, man, Gracias has won quite a few races here in the National Sim Racing Association. But I believe this season got that one win in only 3 starts entering into tonight back at Homestead, Miami. This being his 2nd win of the season in only his 4th points paying event. Of course, he also got that win in the shootout that we had to actually start off the season. Non-points paying event, but this is Gracias' 2nd points paying win of the season here tonight as he burns it down here on the front stretch, and he's going to be one happy camper.
Yes, he will. You see Maher joining in on the celebration there as well, doing some donuts there with the number 1, and man, that was a surprising race, Peter, to see a Darlington race go green all the way. I know we were talking a little bit before the race, and I kind of made the prediction. I think we're going to see a fair few yellow flags out here tonight. But these guys proved me wrong. They just put on a phenomenal show. Everybody involved. And, I mean, what do you expect? These guys are great. But looks like we have some interviews waiting, although are we going to go through our final running order first here?
We are going to wait on that and just jump straight into the interviews here tonight, starting with tonight's 3rd place finisher, the number 17 machine, Tristan Thuggy Maher. Tristan, it was a good race for you. Unfortunately, you got that right side damage there, and really seemed to take a lot of pace out of that Eclipse Photography number 17 here tonight.
Yeah, Peter, once I got a piece of the wall, and I don't think that hurt me too bad. I didn't hit it too hard. I think what really did me in is when I got that front end damage. That put me down straightaway speed, and I got really tight off the corners. But overall, it wasn't a terrible day. I got 3rd place, so not a bad points day. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to consider the fact that tonight Jason Gracias, who's not competing for the title, has only made 4 starts this season, got the win. Not that big of a deal. Second place in points, though, Philip Scott did get you to that second spot, but all things considered, I'm sure with all that damage, third place, you'll take it.
Yeah, Peter, the damage really did me in. I think me and Jason had a really similar pace, and we were even on the same strategy. It just ended up, once I got the damage, I had to call an audible and pit earlier to try and salvage what I could on fresh tires for as long as I could.
Well, speaking of equal pace, next week we go to Talladega Super Speedway, where everyone will be equal on pace. What are your thoughts that go into the Super Speedway?
I just got to stay out of it. There is some skill in super speedways, and most of the skill is not being involved. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Super speedway race is good for the soul every once in a while. I couldn't do it every day, though. That's for sure.
Well, definitely going to be a fun one right here next Friday night, June 17th on 3 Wide TV, 9 o'clock Eastern. Before we let you go, Tristan, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, got to shout out NSRA, fantastically. Look them up on Facebook. Join the Discord, get in on some of the action. You guys up in the booth, and then this Eclipse Photography F-150 was looking good tonight before the damage. But we got to thank MaxGrafix for that paint job. And then I think that's about it.
All right. Well, Tristan, not able to get 4 wins in 5, but still 3 wins in 5 is pretty good. We'll see you again next week at Dega.
See you, Peter.
All right, well, that's going to do it with tonight's third place finisher, Tristan Thuggy Maher. Let's see if we can get tonight's runner-up, Philip Scott, and I believe Andre Grambush has caught up with him.
Philip Scott, you got a copy?
Yep.
Well, Philip, that was quite the interesting race. 125 laps and not a single one under yellow. And through it all, you were able to come through on the podium here in second. What was it like out there, staying green the whole time?
Yeah, I honestly am really happy and impressed, especially since we had a pretty big field today. And I love long runs because that's the only way you get better at long runs. I used to be really bad at saving my tires, but I've especially in trucks. I'm way better at saving my tires higher horsepower. So it was just, I knew that Gracias was going to be hard to beat on the long run. He always is. He's like the best dude at saving tires that I've ever raced against. And so I just kind of ran my own race. I knew I was going to hit the wall a couple times and just try to save my stuff and it's because of the long runs and the confidence in it staying long run, because I was, familiar with everybody racing around me. That's why I decided to do some fun little strategy calls, like massive undercuts, just to see if maybe there'd be a caution after the cycle and I'd like be out in front of him or something. Because long run, or short run, obviously, it's anyone's game. So yeah, it's a lot of fun out there, a lot of fun racing, and good to get another good finish.
Now, thinking all the way back to practice and the start of the race, obviously this race started during the day and transitioned into night. And at the beginning of the event, it seemed like you guys were really loose. The trucks were just really slip sliding all over the track. Did that change or improve as the sun went down? I mean, how did the track really transition?
Honestly, with it being green the whole way, there's like no time to breathe. I couldn't really notice either way. It was just all a matter of, I think it might have been a little loose early run in the daytime, definitely, but I think that I was just so focused on just keep the car moving, keep it going, keep the momentum, obviously. And so I didn't really think about that too much.
Absolutely, and that makes sense. So next week on the 17th, we're going to Talladega, a super speedway. First off, Philip, are you going to run it? And second of all, if you are, how do you feel about a super speedway?
Yeah, and well, I'm not a fan of super speedways, but at the same time, if the conditions are right, I do like to lead there. I think last season's Dega race, I led like 68 laps or something, but didn't seal the deal. So I think it's all about getting yourself in position on the last lap. I'd love to have it go green flag run the whole way, because I got some really good teammates, and I remember last season's race we were really checked out from the field before there was a yellow. So I as long as I can like work together good with my teammates and be there at the end, we'll see. I'd love to get a win there at a play track.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the podium. You've been consistent all year long, and it's another good points day in the bank. Is there anybody that you would like to shout out or thank for that good points day?
I'd like to thank, of course, on my car National Ninja League. Although we are not the National Ninja League anymore, we are the World Ninja League. So I kind of have to, because we have a bunch of gyms from all over the world, I should say, and I should probably you'll see a new paint next week.
All right. Well, again, thanks for your time, Philip, and we'll catch you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Second place out of the booth, and now Peter Short. I think it's time for you to have a word with our race winner.
Yeah, I'm down here in victory lane with driver of the number one machine, Jason Gracias, who really turned on the jets there late. Late call to come down pit road with later than everyone else, pretty much. We'll put it that way. Gave him the fresher tires and just really laid it on them at the end there. Pretty much 10 seconds in margin of victory here tonight, Jason. But what was the secret to keeping the right front clean? Because that was the one thing most of your competitors could not do tonight.
Yeah, I know this number one backcraft Toyota Tundra was on rails tonight. The secret was just not to hit the wall. And I didn't do a good job. I kissed the wall 3 times. So I didn't have a 100% clean truck, but I knew as long as I kept the truck off the wall, I'd have some sort of right front to carry me there at the end. And thankfully, it worked out in my favor. So super pumped to get this backcraft truck back to victory lane.
Well, a really, really, really good job keeping it as clean as you can. But next week, Talladega. Always tough to keep it clean at Talladega. Of course, we don't even know if you're going to be running a part-time schedule this season. Will we see you at Dega? And, well, I guess answer that question first.
I can't confirm or deny. So I don't know. I go day by day.
That's a terrible answer. That's neither yes
there-
nor no.
Let's see. There is a 50% chance I'll be there and a 50% chance I will not be there. So we'll see what life has in store for me next week.
You're leaving us hanging here, Jason. Talladega, of course, next week. Very different than Darlington Raceway here tonight. But you've got 4 starts so far this season. 2 of those have ended up in victory lane. That doesn't include, of course, the season opener, the shootout that we had. But, Jason, you have a lot of pace here, and really fun to see you whip that thing around, of course, adding to that win at Homestead. Rating tonight's win versus that at Homestead, which one do you think is a better win in your history of wins?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Homestead's probably, you've probably heard this many times, but Homestead's probably my favorite track on the service, just because there's so many different lines and there's so many different strategies that can play out at Homestead. And if you undercut at Homestead with the new iRacing model, Dirty Air, you can have a significant advantage over your peers. So I think Homestead is more fulfilling for me just because Tristan had a lot of pace at Homestead, and just the fact that I was able to run him down and pass him off of his really good pit strategy was a lot of fun. Me and Tristan had a really good race here. It was unfortunate that he got the wall off of 2 and then ran in the back of somebody. So I think this race could have shaped out to be kind of like Homestead, where it would be tire saving / pit strategy coming into play. But unfortunately, Tristan got into some lap cars. So super bummed from him, and also for Philip too. Philip hit the wall, and just lost track position early on in the race. So unfortunate for those guys, but it would have been really fun to race it out between us 3. But still, regardless, podium. But for all 3 of us here tonight. But to answer your question, Homestead for sure. one of my favorite tracks. I ran one of my favorite paint schemes that MaxGrafix has made me. This is a close second to me, so definitely Homestead.
Well, always fun to hear from the winner's perspective, just how races play in to their own sim career. Jason, before I let you go, any additional shout outs that you have?
Yeah, first and foremost, shout out to Doug Neal and Simbox for sponsoring this race. If you guys need any sort of butt box for your iRacing rig, hit up Doug Neal at facebook.com/SimboxPC, SIMBOX PC. I got 2 button boxes from Doug that I paid for out of my pocket, full discretion. And they've really, changed how I race. It really gives me a full immersion with the starter, the brake bias button, and different buttons I can map to look at things as I'm racing. Truly a game changer. So everyone, if you're committed to sim racing and want to take a step further for immersion, go check out Simbox on Facebook. Doug does great work, really quality builds, really good price. You can customize it with your name, your number, whatever have you. So I'll go check them out. Thanks to the league sponsors, Stay Tuned Sports, Brookstone Animal Hospital, Taz Racing Customs, Beer Street Journal, Eclipse Photography, JNR Craftworks. And speaking of Beer Street Journal, tonight I am drinking a beer from Crooked Hammock down here in the great state of Delaware, also in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I am drinking a savagely delicious Lucky Charms cereal Citra Lemon Drop IPA. And let me tell you, this is delicious. In between pit stops, I was chugging my tall boy. So definitely get a refill after this race. Thanks to everyone that puts me on track. Chris Darling over at MaxGrafix for always giving me some really nice paint schemes. He has some tweaks coming to the site soon to really help the community out. So everyone check out his website, maxgrafix.co, or hit up Chris on his Discord or on the on the NSRA Discord if you guys need some design work done. Thanks to backcraftcornhole.com, Tony Lucarelli. This game has a special place in my heart because last season when I unveiled this scheme, we went on a tear, and it looks like I'm 2 for 2 so far this season in this game. So thanks, Tony, for coming on board sponsoring this truck. And last but not least, thanks to Through ITV for the broadcast. Peter, always great to hear you. Super, super good broadcast. Really quality. I've seen a lot of other broadcasts out there, and you blow them out the water. So, Peter, I know you have a newborn. I hope they're doing well, but keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much there, Jason, and congratulations on the win here tonight. Thanks for the kind words, as Darlington Raceway was very kind to you, as it kind of looked like you tamed the Trek that's too tough to tame, as you got the win here tonight. We'll see you next time, hopefully next week at Dega, but if not, whenever you're next back out here.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I'm back and I get another TNR boy in Victory Lane.
All right. Well, folks, that's going to do it with the number one of Jason Gracias here tonight for the post-race interviews. Let's see if we can dial up the final post-race results. And you know what? I'm a bit fearful that we might not be able to. Maybe we should have done them first. I think we can bring them up. Yeah, there we go. It just doesn't look as it should, because the thingy at the top doesn't want to go away because we've taken too long. But why don't you take us away with tonight's finishing results there, Andre?
Jason Gracias taking the win. Philip Scott P2. Tristan Maher rounding out the podium. Nate Maurer made an impressive late race run. Tried to claim a podium spot. Just ran out of time. A little too late. A little too short. Justin White P5 in that number 2 machine. He had quite the eventful night and to come out with a good points day. Can't complain. Dominic DeSoro P6. Mike Tellier in 7th. Stan Hausman works his way up to 8th. After starting a little bit further back in the grid. Doug Neal, P9. Running out the top 10 is going to be Dalton Hayes. Outside of the top 10, you've got Blaine Sparling, Adam Newton, David Buell, Martin Plute, Julian Tesoro, Tyler Bellinger, Tom Lester, Nick Kessler, Garrett Gleason, Randy Perdue, Vinny Valvano, Jimbo, P22, Randy Bledsoe, Adam Dama, Scott Tompkins, and Adam Benefiel, who did not start, alongside Adam Lichty, who also did not start tonight's event. That is going to do it for your post-race results. You know where your favorite driver ended. And that should just about do it for us, Peter.
Yeah, Dega next week, always fun. Got to start talking about the big one already here tonight at the Darlington Raceway, because we always talk about the big one. But going to be a lot of fun for that one, folks. Make sure you tune in. And might I say that the chat was wrong here tonight. They said that there was going to be a caution. They were all wrong. All 6 people voted that there was going to be a caution. And nope, you were all wrong here tonight, folks. But a lot of fun, great race. Now I think I can finally say I've broadcasted a Darlington race caution-free. Looking forward to Dega next week, Andre.
Yeah, plate racing is always a spectacle. You never know what to expect or who's going to win. They are truly a lottery, if any race was a lottery. So tune in right here on 3Wide TV if you want to see a high-speed game of chess and see who comes out on top. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, before we go, just want to give a few shout-outs. Of course, one to Simbox PC, facebook.com/SimboxPC. Go check them out for custom button box. Not only were they sponsor of the race, they're also sponsor of the Biggest Mover of the Race Award. And tonight, that's going to go to Dalton Hayes, sporting his Terry Labonte-inspired throwback, plus 12 spots on his run up into the top 10. So congratulations for picking up tonight's Simbox Biggest Mover of the Race Award, Dalton. Also, a big shout out to Stay Tuned Sports podcast. Their link is in the description to the Podbean. And you can go check that out to listen to all their recent sports news, as well as BeerStreetJournal.com. We've talked about him. I think we finally learned the final secret to how Jason Gracias won the race, having the beer on in his pit stops, refueling him and the car at the same time. MaxGrafix.co for custom iRacing paint schemes. Fantastic designer of iRacing schemes. A lot of the trucks here are MaxGrafix.co designed trucks. If you like to scheme in tonight's race, go check out MaxGrafix.co. Brookstone Animal Hospital didn't get to give out a Lucky Dog Award here tonight, but BrookstoneVet.com in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area. Taz Racing Customs, Facebook.com/Taz Racing Customs, and JNR Craftworks for custom crafted gifts and designs. Check out JNR Craftworks. Some really, really cool stuff to hang on the wall, as well as be useful around the house. That custom stuff that JNR Craftworks does. www.jnrcraftworks.com. And of course, Eclipse Photography as our series sponsors here tonight. Like I said, make sure to join us next week at 9 o'clock Eastern on 3Wide TV. But until then, have a good night, and we shall see ya.